Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Podcasts. My guest today on Edmonton's podcast is Traci Bateman, who is co-founder and owner of Bliss Spa and Integrated Wellness in Edmonton, who's also a life and health coach. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mario. Happy to be here.
All right, let me ask, we'll start the conversation off. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Oh gosh. We started Bliss Spa about 12 years ago when my husband and I would travel around because he was in the grocery business. We had a lot of conferences. So we'd go to Italy and Portugal and Vegas and all these wonderful places. And when we travel, we'd go to the spa and we'd golf. And then we'd come back to Edmonton and we're like, do you want to go for a massage? And we're like, meh, nah. There really wasn't anything that had the luxurious experience that we had seen in all these other countries. So as he was selling his last grocery store, we're kind of like, well, maybe there's an opportunity here. And we were kind of into hot yoga at the time. So
Hmm.
our original concept was a hot yoga studio and a spa. Like, well, if we're gonna do a spa, we may as well do. Or if we do yoga, we'll do massage. If we do massage, we'll do spa. If we're gonna do spa, let's do Medi Spa. And it grew from one bay to four bays, and just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So then COVID hit, and we're originally Bliss Yoga Spa. COVID hit, nobody was doing group classes, so we had to pivot. So then we became Bliss Medi Spa with a focus more on the medical spa. But I also have this love of integrated wellness. So we do acupuncture and IV drips and some other more holistic services to go with all the medical services too.
Okay, how did this journey into this wellness area begin for you?
Well, that is my adventure. I lost my mom when I was 14 years old to breast cancer. She was given 2 years to live and she lived 8. And when you're 14 years old and you don't have a mom, you have to figure out everything yourself. And for me, it was also the start of a journey of wellness and how not to die. And so I started a Rolodex of different practitioners, of holistic practitioners, because I didn't trust the medical system anymore. So I started researching acupuncture and osteopathy and nutrition and all these different ways to look after yourself. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of my foray into wellness.
Oh, wow. And um, what's your background in terms of education? Let's talk a little
I
bit about that.
I actually went to the University of Calgary. So my first degree is a BA in economics out of U of C.
Wow.
And then I moved to Edmonton in 2002, went back to school and got an interior design degree in it's another BA in interior design. And then when I decided to pursue health and life coaching, I got 5 more certifications on health and life coaching.
Okay. So when you're first at university, what did you think you were going to end up doing as a career?
You know what's funny is I applied for the BCom program. And at the time, I was 0.09 of a GPA away to get in.
Oh,
And I
wow.
went to the dean, I went to the faculty. I'm like, you guys, I have all these undergrad degree courses, like, let me in. And like, nope. The next year they open it all up. So I'm like, oh, I have all these economics courses, so I'll take economics. And my dad had it in my head that I was going to be in business. Didn't know how, where, why, but I loved beautiful things. So I didn't know how that was going to meld. And now we see it in beautiful things in terms of personal beauty, in terms of my interior design. And yeah, so it wasn't necessarily where I thought I was going.
Okay. Now, I know over your professional career, you've had a couple of different kind of businesses and pursuits. Can you talk a little bit about that? Tell us like what you've had in the past.
Well, my first business was in university at U of C. I was part of the Entrepreneurs Club.
Wow.
And I started a golf accessories company with my now ex-husband. But we started selling golf accessory bags, shoe bags, a whole line of products to golf courses when I was 19 years old.
Oh,
So that was
wow.
my first business. And then I worked an IT company and they needed to build a website for an oil and gas company. So I learned HTML and created a website. And then we needed an annual report. So I learned how to build annual reports and it just kind of built. So I started my own marketing company in Calgary as well. So that was the start of it. Then after I moved to Edmonton, I kept in the marketing business and then went back to school to got my interior design degree. So then I also did interior design. And then, as we talked about, I've got Bliss and then the health and life coaching as well. So lots of businesses, lots of different industries, many simultaneously as well.
What when you look back at all that, and you've got quite a variety of different kinds of business, etc. What are some of the key lessons, I guess, you learned uh, for being an entrepreneur, going through all that experience?
I think the number one lesson that I didn't learn till probably a few years ago was ask for help and surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, because as much as you want to do it yourself and you think you know everything, you don't. And you need people who
Yeah,
have expertise in different areas to really support you.
yeah. What's your advice to somebody who wants to start a business?
Do your research. Make
Yeah.
sure your financials are accurate, that you really do have your projections. You've accounted for so many different contingencies in what could go wrong, what could happen, because so many things come up that you don't think about or that you plan and they don't show up. So I say really be comprehensive in your research.
Hmm. Now, you're in the whole wellness field, and it's although the stuff you do mostly is kind of physical in nature, it's also like mental as well, right? They kind of kind of
Well,
mesh
that's why I
together.
got into coaching, to be perfectly honest, is because
Yeah.
the business of the physical side was doing well and it had its own space. And then when COVID hit, I kind of saw people giving up on themselves. And because I had lost my mom at such a young age, I worked harder, not smarter. So I'm like, I need to help people figure out how to work smarter, not harder. So they don't have to go through all the heartache and all the hassle and all the difficulties I went through, so that I could support people with, because I didn't have that support network. So I really wanted to give it to people to have that support and accountability.
Yeah. Now, in the entrepreneurial world, people are they're busy at work, extremely busy, and do you think a lot of them neglect that wellness side to them? And what are the consequences of neglecting that?
Funny you ask, because I was that person. So after,
Oh,
when I built Bliss, I had an identity of this business, because a yoga spa hadn't existed in Edmonton. So I was very much my business. I was the face of the business, and I burned out really hard. Again, that's not asking for help thing, and
yeah,
not taking care of yourself and putting the business so far in front of yourself. I burned out hard. I wasn't sleeping, but I was exhausted. I put on weight. I was losing my hair. I was irritable. I was cranky, and I had adrenal fatigue and really had to take a step back and look at my lifestyle choices and start making me a priority, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs just put themselves or put the business ahead of themselves, and they're going to face that burnout as well.
yeah, and I guess it impacts the business, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. Like, luckily, I have a business partner and she manages the staff and the operations. So I was very lucky that I had someone who could pick up where I had to take some breaks and
Yeah.
acknowledge where I was doing too much.
So when it comes to the wellness journey, are women more apt to take that journey than men?
You know what's interesting? Because I do have a couple of male yoga teachers, and they're definitely embrace the lifestyle and the wellness side of it. But 100%, 95% of our clients, our staff, everyone involved are women. And, whether that's a nurturing perspective or whether it's just an openness perspective, I'm not sure. Not to say I don't have male clients, like my husband's one of our best clients. Uh, but it is, I think, it's a bit of a mindset that men can do this too.
Yeah. How for a lot of people, then again, male or female, they hit a point that maybe that they've gone too far in one direction, right? And their health is gone astray. How do you convince them that they can turn the clock and or turn back, even though they think, I'm going to be this fat, I'm going to going to have these problems, so I'm not going to worry about it. How do you convince them that no, you can change?
Very small steps. James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits, and one of the things he talks about is habit stacking. So,
Yeah.
say you want to add meditation into your world, what I would say is, after you brush your teeth, take 5 minutes to do a short meditation and start adding these small habits in with other things that you're doing. Or book yourself in for a massage, once a week, come and prioritize self-care. So it's also determining what your priorities are and seeing how self-care fits into that, and then making time for it, like blocking it in your calendar on your phone and actually doing it.
Yeah. Now you're based in Edmonton. I'm just curious, as a business owner, and I'm assuming that your other businesses were in Edmonton, outside of the one at university.
Yeah, my marketing company was in Calgary. I didn't bring that to Edmonton. Well, I tried to, but it didn't really work. So yeah, I had a marketing company in Calgary as well.
Oh, okay then. Tell me, being based in Edmonton right now, like what is the climate like for you as a business owner being based in Edmonton?
It's really interesting. When I moved from Calgary to Edmonton, I really missed the pace of Calgary, and like obviously the proximity to the mountains. My family's all there. So there's a lot of things I love, love, love about Calgary. But I have to say the Edmontonians were very welcoming of me, and they're very down to earth. And it's because it's a government city, it's a little more blue collar, it's not as fast paced. So there's definitely differences in the two cities.
Yeah.
The economic climate is very interesting. So we're a luxury product. So we're not for everybody. We're not the Tim Hortons, we're the Starbucks. And the recession has been very scary, I have to say. Well, COVID was really hard. We shut down 3 times, had to lay off our staff.
Uh,
So it was a really big struggle. And so now we've had to reinvent ourselves with this new name and looking after some more wellness stuff. And it's hard. I have to say this economy is a little scary.
how did you get through it? How did you get through that period?
Tenacity, pivoting. We,
Yeah.
you know, we did a renovation. We took our yoga studio from 32 people down to 12 people. So we created a different experience. We opened up some IV infusion therapy. So really a big focus on health and prevention. And
Yeah.
then I opened it up to some cosmetic injectables. So I have 5 nurses on staff. So there's opportunities to do some different things that maybe have a higher profit point too.
Okay. What about like business conditions for an entrepreneur in doing your business in Edmonton, or even the province of Alberta?
Yeah, one of our biggest issues is honestly our rent. And so that's a business condition that we struggle with a lot. We are in a very affluent neighborhood in this beautiful strip mall, and the rent we pay is exorbitant, and it's one of our big barriers to profitability. And so, I don't know if that translates to everyone, but that's definitely one of our biggest issues in terms of business. I think too, when we started, there was no really luxury products in Edmonton, particularly. I know Calgary was a little more ahead of
Yeah.
the schedule. So in the 12 years we've been open, we've seen a bit of a change too, in that people are wanting to spend a little bit more money on themselves. And so there's more competition right now as well.
Yeah. On a personal level, do you, obviously as a business owner and you're busy and then you're doing all this stuff, do you struggle with finding the time to take care of your own wellness?
Yeah, it's a big joke actually, because I'll get into a massage with one of our therapists only when there's a cancellation, and they'll give me trouble for not coming in more often because I've got knots up to here in my shoulders. So yes, I am,
Oh,
because I coach on that as well. So I have to make big efforts. I'm a big golfer, so I do take time to golf. But I also, my ritual is I have a bath at night, and that's kind of my downtime, my meditation, my alone time for me to do a bit of a recharge.
yeah. What other things do you do outside of obviously the work and some of these wellness pursuits? Do you have any other passions, interests?
Love to travel, so we travel quite a bit, and I'm a competitive golfer. I'm a 4 handicap golfer, so I play a lot of competition. When we travel, we golf as well. So those are two big things in my life. I have 4 dogs as well.
Oh wow, very quite busy. Any when you take say you look at your golfing, how does the wellness part of it and the relaxation part of it fit into how well you do in golfing?
It's hard because I always have my phone, and it's like I have to make an effort to put my phone down and not like, and just accept being present, and it's something again I coach a lot, but golf is one of those things you can't have your brain elsewhere. You need to be
Oh,
present. So I really work hard at being in my game right then and there. I work really hard. I have a coach.
yeah.
I love it. My stepson's is a Corn Ferry golfer. Like it's in our blood. It's in our family big time. So yeah, I definitely have to make that effort to be present.
How difficult is that for people in this day? Well, no matter whatever it is they're doing, to be present.
I think it's a choice. I've coached so many people that have had childhood trauma that goes with that, a parent
Yeah.
that's a little bit more um difficult and high expectations. And so, I'm hoping with this generation of parents that they're a little more vocal about listening to their children's needs and things like that. Whereas I was a perfectionist and always striving and striving and striving. So we'll see how that changes in this next generation too.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, so at your spa, like what kind of services do you give there? And
We do everything. So obviously massage is a big part of it. We do
yeah,
facials and waxing. We have a couple of laser machines, so we do a lot of rejuvenation, laser
okay.
hair removal, rejuvenation. I have a couple of nurses who do Botox and fillers. We do acupuncture. I do my coaching here. I have a Reiki practitioner. Like
Oh,
we are really a full service wellness center.
yeah. It's an interesting term, isn't it? Wellness, because it's not something that was used, long time ago.
No.
You talked about fitness or health or exercise, all that type of stuff. But the wellness part of it really encompasses what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, and I think too, it's so much on the inside and out. And one of the big things that's important with for us is there's no judgment. So somebody said to me once, "Well, you do Botox and all this stuff that makes you fake, but yet you talk about feeling good on the inside and
Yeah,
all this stuff." I'm like, "Well, but there's no judgment here. So if we can help you feel better about yourself, whether it's through the process of being touched or your face being massaged or having acupuncture needles in you, or we have a machine that's going to fix your cellulite, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment. Come in here and feel better about yourself, however that means."
yeah, wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Tracy, for joining us today.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, that was Traci Bateman, who is co-founder and co-owner of Bliss Med Spa and Integrated Wellness in Edmonton. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast. Thanks for joining us today.